Today, we're tackling one of the biggest challenges for learners and professionals alike, the struggle to focus. Evan, why do you think so many people today find it nearly impossible to concentrate, even on important tasks?
Great question, Aaron. The truth is, our brains are constantly bombarded with stimuli, notifications, social media, even just background noise. It's like trying to read a book while sitting in the middle of a carnival. Your attention is pulled in every direction before you can even settle in.
That carnival analogy really paints a picture. And it's not just technology, right? Even our own thoughts can distract us, especially when learning something new like English.
Absolutely. Internal distractions, worrying about progress, remembering chores, or replaying conversations add to the external overload. For English learners, this means you're not only battling outside noise, but also your own anxious thoughts about making mistakes or not improving fast enough.
Let's dive deeper. You mentioned overstimulation. Can you explain what that really means for our brains, especially when we're trying to study?
Sure thing. Overstimulation happens when your brain receives more information than it can process calmly. Imagine your brain as a computer with too many tabs open. It slows down, freezes, or even crashes. Studies show that multitasking reduces productivity by up to 40%, making learning less effective.
So, in a way, watching multiple English videos or switching between grammar and vocabulary every few minutes might actually sabotage our learning?
Exactly. While it feels productive, it usually leads to surface-level understanding and mental exhaustion, not deep learning. It's better to close some tabs literally and figuratively to allow your brain to focus on one thing at a time.
That brings us to environment. How does our physical space influence our ability to concentrate, particularly for language learners?
Our environment can either support or sabotage our focus. A cluttered desk, noisy background, or constant interruptions act like hurdles for your brain. For example, research from Princeton University found that visual clutter competes for your attention, making it harder to process information.
So, would you say creating a focus zone is essential, even if it's just a quiet corner with headphones and a clean table?
Absolutely. You don't need a perfect space, just a consistent, distraction-free area signals to your brain. It's time to focus. It's like athletes having a pre-game routine to get in the zone.
Let's address a common myth. Being busy means being productive. How does this misconception impact English learners?
Many learners equate doing more with learning more, watching 10 videos, or memorizing 50 words in one go. But studies show that true understanding comes from depth, not breadth. It's like digging one deep well for water instead of 10 shallow holes that never reach the source.
That's a great analogy. So what's the alternative to this surface-level activity?
Focus on fewer tasks, but engage more deeply. For instance, practice 5 new words, use them in sentences, and repeat them aloud. Deep learning sticks because it allows your brain to form lasting connections.
Earlier, you mentioned the importance of having a reason for learning. Why does connecting with your personal why matter so much for focus?
When your brain understands the purpose behind a task, it becomes more engaged. Neurological studies suggest that intrinsic motivation activates reward centers, making concentration easier and learning more enjoyable. For example, learning English to travel or talk to friends gives your study sessions real meaning.
So, if someone studies grammar without a clear purpose, their brain might resist the effort?
Exactly. Without a why, tasks feel pointless and motivation drops. But when you connect learning to a personal goal like landing a new job or watching movies without subtitles, focus comes naturally.
Let's bust another myth. The idea that focus is just a mood that appears when we need it. Is focus really something we can control and train?
Focus is absolutely a skill, much like a muscle that strengthens with regular exercise. You wouldn't expect to run a marathon without training, and yet we expect our brains to focus perfectly without practice. Building focus requires intention and consistent routines.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. So, for English learners, what would a focus workout look like?
Start small. Set a timer for 10 minutes, remove distractions, and listen to a single English audio clip. Over time, these mini sessions build your focus muscle, making longer periods of concentration possible.
Let's pivot to something often overlooked: our bodies. How does movement affect our mental focus, especially during learning?
Great question. Physical movement increases blood flow to the brain, which boosts alertness and memory. Even short walks or stretches can clear mental fog. A Stanford study found that walking increases creative output by 60%, so moving while learning English like speaking aloud during a stroll can be surprisingly effective.
That's fascinating. So, learning doesn't have to mean sitting rigidly at a desk?
Exactly. Incorporate gentle movement, stand up and repeat vocabulary, or take a brisk walk while listening to a podcast. It helps your brain reset and absorb new information.
A lot of people rely on willpower to stay focused, but that battery runs out fast. What's a smarter approach for consistent focus, especially with language learning?
Relying on willpower is like trying to power your house with a flashlight. It fades quickly. Instead, create systems, habits, or routines that make focusing automatic. For example, listening to English for 5 minutes every morning after breakfast becomes second nature over time.
So, it's less about forcing yourself and more about designing your day to make focus easier?
Exactly. Systems are like conveyor belts. They carry you forward with minimal effort. The more automatic your routines, the less you have to rely on motivation alone.
Now that we've explored strategies for focus, let's empower our listeners with practical vocabulary. Charlotte, can you help us break down some key words from today's episode?
Absolutely, Aaron. Let's start with overstimulate, meaning to give your brain too much information like constant scrolling. Next is exhausted, which describes feeling mentally or emotionally drained. Using these words helps you describe your learning experiences more precisely.
What about phrases like white flag or cluttered? How do these help learners?
White flag is a metaphor for surrendering when overwhelmed, while cluttered means a messy space or mind. These visual words make it easier to express complex feelings related to focus and distraction.
Let's make this practical. Can you walk us through a real-world scenario where an English learner applies these focus strategies?
Absolutely. Imagine Maria, a bone learner. She sets up a quiet corner each morning, turns off her phone, and listens to one English podcast for 15 minutes. She chooses 5 new words, repeats them aloud, and connects them to her goal of traveling to London. This routine, done daily, turns focus into a habit, not a struggle.
That's a great example. What if Maria gets distracted or misses a day?
No worries. The key is consistency, not perfection. Missing a day isn't failure, it's just a chance to gently return to your system. Over weeks, these small habits accumulate, leading to real progress.
As we wrap up, what resources or reflection strategies can our listeners use to deepen their focus and English learning this week?
We've created a free PDF that includes today's vocabulary, grammar tips, and reflection questions. I recommend listeners review these resources, write about their biggest distractions, and set one small focus goal for the week. Reflection strengthens learning and helps you notice patterns.
Fantastic. And if you're struggling, remember that progress is about kindness to yourself and steady improvement, not perfection.
Exactly. Stay patient, celebrate small wins, and remember focus is a journey, not a finish line. Your English and your mindset will both grow stronger with every step.